The life you know, all the stuff you take for granted, it's not gonna last. Imagine a world of permanent darkness, where machines control man's destiny. Imagine you were the only one who could stop it. But before you do, something terrible has to happen.
Hey, are you gonna pay for that?
Talk to the hand.
Hey, what's up guys? Joe again from Grindhouse Grotto. Welcome back to my channel. If you're tuning in tonight, then you know that I'm reviewing 2003's Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines. I own this on VHS tape. Had to have it in my collection. I'm a huge Terminator fan, so I had to have all the films. This one was released probably 2003. This is probably the only release that it's seen on VHS tape before it went to DVD. Basically, 2004 was the last year that they made VHS tapes, so this was like one of the last films that got the VHS treatment. And then I do have this on DVD as well. I ended up throwing out the case, and I have it in one of those folio things. But I do actually have the Blu-ray in front of me, and from my understanding, this is the only release that it's gotten on Blu-ray. It does come with quite a few special features on there. You get the introduction by Arnold Schwarzenegger, 3 commentaries with the stars and director, an HBO first look documentary, a really ridiculous Sergeant Candy scene. I'm glad that wasn't included in the movie, by the way. Terminator flaws, gag reel, Dress to Kill, storyboard gallery, toys in action, the making of the video game, and theatrical trailer. I would say the best feature on here, to be quite honest with you, is the making of the video game. I used to play the T3 video game on PS2, and so that's a pretty cool documentary how they kind of tied in the movie with the video game. And that video game, by the way, is absolutely phenomenal. If you still own the PS2, I would recommend going and picking that up. It's really fun to play. Even if you don't like this movie, it's still a really fun movie. But anyways, yeah, so some pretty decent features on here. In regards to the Sergeant Candy scene, the Sergeant Candy scene, basically, I don't know if it was supposed to be in the film and they kind of left it out, or if it's just basically like something fun they wanted to do. But if you've seen it before, then you already know. It's basically explains where they got the prototype for the T-101, Arnold's likeness. And basically, his likeness is different than the person's voice that actually the voice that got donated for the T-100 is different than the actual skin prototype. So you get Arnold's look, but then there's another guy who's got Arnold's voice. And the real Arnold in real life has this like real country accent. Really silly. I'm so glad they didn't include that or incorporate that into the film. This film was already silly as it is. I didn't really need anything else to make it any worse than it already is, which I'll get into that. But anyways, this is pretty much the only release that we've gotten on Blu-ray, and I would hope at some point in the future they would give us a more updated Blu-ray. I understand this doesn't have a big fan base like T1 or T2, but I mean, I still enjoy this film. I still enjoy it as a continuation of the first 2 films. Even though I feel like it's not that good, it's still an enjoyable movie, and I do watch this quite a bit. So anyways, I'm going to get into the actual plot of Terminator 3. Alright, Terminator 3 picks up basically 2003, so it actually follows the time frame from when the movie got released. So it takes place in 2003. Judgment Day has come and passed. John Connor is basically living off the grid. He's chosen to live off the grid because he knows that the apocalypse is right around the corner. He has this feeling that, there's no stopping Judgment Day. He just doesn't want any part of the oncoming future. He doesn't want to be a leader. He doesn't want to be part of the resistance. He just wants to live a normal life. And he feels like this future is chasing him. So he's just constantly on the run, doesn't want to be identified by anybody, doesn't want to be found. He's just living off the grid. So we find out later in the film that basically, you know, Sarah Connor has passed away. She had leukemia. She died sometime after when the Judgment Day was supposed to happen, so in '97. She waited for Judgment Day to come and pass, and then she, you know, couldn't fight the leukemia anymore, and she passed away. And we find that out about midway through the movie, when the Terminator takes Arnold and Kate Brewster into this mausoleum where they think Sarah Connor is buried at, but we come to find out it's just basically like a coffin full of weapons that Arnold says, "These weapons were left in accordance to her will." So Sarah Connor basically put these weapons in a coffin, hid it in a mausoleum for John Connor to find when, you know, the eventual Terminator apocalypse, the Judgment Day happens. John Connor will have some weapons to basically start the resistance. But anyways, so yeah, it's pretty much a ripoff of Terminator 2. So if you've seen Terminator 2, you kind of already know what to expect with Terminator 3. You got 2 Terminators sent back in time. One to protect John Connor and Kate Brewster, which is a new character. And then one to find John Connor and basically kill John Connor. But there's a little twist. This new Terminator is an anti-Terminator Terminator. Like what Arnold says. She's an anti-Terminator Terminator. So her task is to kill any other Terminators, as well as basically kill John Connor, Kate Brewster, and then their lieutenants for the resistance. So John Connor can't be located, so this TX, this female Terminatrix, is sent back in time to its primary goal is to hunt down Kate Brewster and all the other lieutenants in the resistance. And then its second goal is to find John Connor if it can. So really, if the TX kills Kate Brewster and the lieutenants, then effectively it doesn't matter if John Connor's alive because the resistance will fail. Which is kind of ridiculous because if that were the case, then why didn't they do that in the beginning? Why didn't, in Terminator 1, Terminator 2, why didn't they come back and just kill the lieutenants? Why didn't they just kill Kate Brewster? It makes no sense. So I guess maybe because the timeline was changed and Kate Brewster's character and the lieutenants maybe are in this new timeline since Sarah and John basically stopped Judgment Day. They explain in this movie that Judgment Day is inevitable. So shortly after the events of Terminator 2, John Connor met Kate Brewster, and that was the whole start of this new alternative timeline. So what we get is, you know, the TA and the Terminatrix, the TX, are in pursuit of Kate Brewster. They neither one of them know the existence of John Connor, so they're just trying to find Kate Brewster. And it just so happens to be that John Connor finds himself at the same animal hospital that Kate Brewster runs. He's in there. He's somewhat of a junkie. He's taking all this medicine because he crashes his bike. And she locks him up in this, finds him, pushes him into this dog kennel, locks him up, and then the TX arrives. And from that point forward, it's just a race in time towards the end of the movie. I mean, it literally feels like this film is just speeding up to the end of the movie. It starts off at the beginning super fast and doesn't let up until the absolute end. And that is kind of my biggest complaint about this movie is that it just feels like it's super, super fast. The film doesn't slow down enough to really get invested in the characters, to get invested in what the story's about. It's action scene after action scene after action scene. And, I don't mind the characters. I don't mind Nick Stahl as John Connor. I think he's a decent actor. I just don't like how he was portrayed in this film. And the same can be said for Kate Brewster as well. I don't mind Claire Danes as an actor. I think she's pretty good in a lot of movies. But in Terminator 3, it didn't work. Jonathan Mostow had a different interpretation of the Terminator franchise than James Cameron. Okay? At this point in time, I think James Cameron kind of wrapped it up pretty good. So there really wasn't much meat on the bone left for Jonathan Mostow after when he picked up Terminator 3. There really wasn't much for him to do. So his idea was, okay, let's just basically pay all this homage to the first two movies throughout the film. We're gonna sprinkle in these little scenes that are supposed to make everybody just reminisce about the first two films, and then we're gonna also incorporate this comedic aspect to it too. So we're gonna lighten up the mood here and there with some comedic scenes in the film. That works in some films, but in Terminator it does not work. These scenes are so ridiculous. Like the whole talk to the hand scene is like talk to the hand. I mean that right there. When I seen that scene, I honestly, when I saw this movie for the first time, I didn't know if I was going to continue watching it. That pissed me off so bad. It's like a slap in the face to Terminator fans. It's like, it's an insult. It's an insult to the people that, grown and love Terminator 1 and 2. You're making fun of the Terminator. The Terminator is not going to be cracking jokes, okay? Yeah, I get it. He's learning to become more human, okay? He's an infiltrator. I get it. But a Terminator does not joke, okay? Terminator's got a mission. It's all about the mission. And that's one of my biggest pet peeves about this film is just too many jokes going on. And, I know it's intended to lighten the mood, but you really don't need to lighten the mood. Not as much as they did in this film. So you got that. You got the Elton John glasses. It's just so many scenes in this film. I could sit here and mention all of them, but I'm pretty sure everybody agrees with me and knows the scenes I'm talking about. Yeah. This film, while it's got a lot of problems, and while I find it to be one of the weaker entries in the series, I do actually kind of enjoy this film. It's one of those films that has grown on me over time. I'll watch T1 and T2, and I'm just sucked in from the beginning to end. And then I finish up with T2, and although I'm satisfied with the ending of T2, I'm still hungry for more. And that's kind of where T3 comes in. I just wish that... I never really expected Terminator 3 to be a better film than the first two, but I at least expected that it would be a good tie-in to the first two. They just did not do that. It just did not feel... It didn't feel like the first two films. The first two films had like this epic feel to them. This big, grandiose story. You felt the impending, apocalypse impending, the Judgment Day. That feel of dread throughout the first two films. The Terminators were menacing. And this film, I didn't find the TX to be menacing. I didn't get that feeling of impending doom. That it's a race against the clock, to save humanity, okay? I didn't get that feeling in Terminator 3. I just got the feeling of, okay, action scene, on to the next action scene, throwing a little comedic element here and there, on to the next action scene, a little bit of silly dialogue between the Terminator and John Connor, and that's pretty much it. The TX, the TX pisses me off, okay? The TX is like a weaker version of the T1000. It's like they took a step back from the T1000. T1000 is better than TX. It's not, I don't get it. It's a T1000's liquid metal Terminator, okay? And we saw how badass the T1000 was. It was pretty much a fight to the end between the T-800 and T-1000 to the bloody end of Terminator 2. T-1000 put up a good fight. This TX gets crushed by a helicopter, and that's pretty much it. So, it's got an endoskeleton, which doesn't make any sense, so why would you go back? Why would Skynet make another Terminator, and basically, it's like putting older technology into a liquid metal, I guess, covering? I don't know. It just makes no sense to me. And I get it. It's got all these different, mechanical parts underneath. It can do a lot. But, I don't know. Just something bugged me about that. I felt like, if you look at Terminator Genisys, although I didn't really care for the T-3000, I thought that was a logical evolution from the T-1000 to the T-3000, the John Connor Terminator from Terminator Genesis. That was a logical progression. The T-1000 to the TX just was not logical to me. You know, it's like, okay, the T-1000 liquid metal didn't work, so let's put the Terminator endoskeleton back inside of it. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. But yeah. Christina Loken, I haven't seen too many of her other movies. I don't know if she's a very good actor. I think she played in some like vampire video game adaptations, I think. I can't remember what the names of them were, but that's pretty much her only thing that she's done are these video game movies, and then Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines. I haven't seen her in any other films. Nick Stahl, he's done a few films. I think he did a Crow. He did one of the Crow movies, the Crow sequels. Claire Danes, we all know she was in Romeo and Juliet. She's had some other films. She's been Breakdown Palace. She's been in quite a few films up to that point. So she was probably the biggest star in this movie was Claire Danes. And then Arnold Schwarzenegger, of course. But other than that, I mean, that's pretty much it. That's really Terminator 3 in a nutshell. It's just, although I found it to be enjoyable, I do enjoy watching it, it's really not a good film. I was really hoping when this film came out that it was going to be at least a good continuation. I didn't expect it to be to blow me away like Terminator 1, Terminator 2. But when I went to the movie theater and saw this, I left the movie theater pissed off. I felt like I got robbed of my money. I felt like I went in there and just Jonathan Mossel just took my money. Now, I guess, you know, after some time has passed, if you can look past the talk to the hand and all these ridiculous scenes that they put in there, it's an okay film. But that's kind of where it stands with me. But yeah, guys, those are my thoughts on T3. I'm not going to sit here and beat a dead horse. There's not really too much to say about this film. It's just not a good film. Do I recommend it? Yeah, I recommend it. I recommend it if you want to see a somewhat decent film. If you're just wanting a good popcorn flick and you kind of want to see what happens, you know, after the events of Terminator 2, you can watch this film. We're getting a new sequel produced by James Cameron coming out in 2019, and it's going to basically take the place of Terminator 3. So everything that happened after Terminator 2 is not going to exist anymore. So if this film gives you nightmares, if you hate Terminator 3, you don't have to worry about it. Because Terminator, or The Terminator 2019, whatever they're calling it, I think it literally is just Terminator. Terminator 2019, so they dropped the from the original title and just put Terminator. So that's going to take place right after the events of Terminator 2. It's going to be an alternative timeline to the other films that we've gotten. So those are basically, in effect, erased from existence. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased to see that. Hopefully they do the right thing. Hopefully James Cameron does the right thing and sets this franchise back on course. And then, you know, honestly, I feel like if this is a really good film, this is where it should end. And then in my opinion, if they want to continue with, you know, more Terminator movies, maybe not Terminator movies, maybe they can bring back another Terminator TV or television series. That's what I'd like to see. That's where I think they need to go. Maybe they can, you know, they can work with Netflix or Hulu or one of these companies and do like a, you know, a TV series or streaming series. I think that would be really cool, and have it not focus on the same characters that we're used to. Kind of like a spin-off series, new characters, new Terminators. That'd be really cool. But I think the storyline that we have right now, Sarah Connor, John Connor, the Terminator, that needs to end. They have milked this thing freaking dry. Terminator 3 was the product of just milking the series, and every film that's come after Terminator 3 has basically sucked the franchise dry. There's just nothing else to do. They're just picking freaking... They're picking the little bit of meat off the bone they can. That's pretty much it, guys. That's all I got about this film. If you like this video... I mean, I can't really say that. I don't know if everybody enjoys this film. If you enjoy Terminator 3 and you enjoy my retrospective, give me a thumbs up. I greatly appreciate it. Drop me a comment in the comment section. What are your thoughts on Terminator 3? Do you feel the same way about this film? where does it rank amongst the other Terminator films in the series? If you're not subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe for future content. Anyways, guys, hope you all enjoy this. Until next time, hasta la vista.